explore intuition in our lives with Baba, you are more than welcome.
Dan, I thought you were going to say intuition and confabulation as a joint subject.
Yeah, confabulation is what stands in the way of intuition.
Right. Every time you think you've got it, you confabulate it again.
Josh, are you feeling better?
I am, yes. And
Oh, good.
I got a negative COVID test, so yeah, it's good. And
Oh,
it's
good.
funny, intuition is very interesting. I had one experience where I was waiting for a friend to pick me up, and I said, I'm going to start walking outside to my driveway now, and by the time I get out there, she will be there to pick me up. And I did, and she was. And I was like, wow. But that happened once. But then the amount of times my intuition says, this is going to happen, and it just doesn't happen. So confabulation is that when
Yeah.
when
Well,
your
it's
intuition is wrong?
No,
it,
confabulation is when you muddle the history with your emotions and your remembered history, so to speak. You confabulate. You you make a fabulous situation out of something ordinary. We all do it, but some people do it to the point where their intuition is lost. But the other interesting word and subject is instinct. Now, I live with a little girl with phenomenal instinct, and she can do things like not now, don't go there, and you'll see a crash, or she has phenomenal instinct. So these two words are probably more better matched as instinct and intuition.
yeah. Well, we'll kind of delve into that a little bit. Betty, any luck there?
Yeah, I'm here. Okay, there's a nice quote here too. A couple of them. Francis. Now, Rainey, you're the expert here, so
Well, I wrote it. I wouldn't say I'm the expert. I researched it and took other people's stuff and put it in the article.
he he I guess you'd say dabbled in the art world, right? He had his companions.
No, he did not dabble.
Okay. I should let you say
Yeah.
it.
He was an artist,
Okay.
a visual artist, and at first he was an artist's model. That was because he was doing courses and doing art with John Parry and famous Australian artists. And
Wow. So
so then he did art.
But then he
let's see some of those. Yeah.
Okay, I'll show what I love the quote. He said, art has to be a balance of intellect and heart. It should appeal to the highest intellect and the simplest heart.
Yeah. Beautiful.
So I'll just
There's
scroll.
Andre Gide said, art is a collaboration between God and man, and the less of man, the better.
So there are just I don't know, maybe 5 or 6.
Jack owns this one. The nurses in Australia in those days wore red capes and lovely white hats, a bit like nuns. And this is outside the hospital they worked in. Jack Mormon recently bought this, so it's in America now. We have one Francis Brabazon well-known painting in America now.
All right. And this is here's police. It was really interesting to see this, the artist side of him. I thought so. Yeah.
I love the kettle in the landscape. I mean, always keep your cup of tea on mind, no matter what you're painting.
There's some real beautiful clarity, I think, and simplicity about these. Yeah. All right. And then here's Francis.
And there's a great story about this one. It's a self-portrait. There are two of them. I believe Felix has one and John Parry has the other. There may be a third one we can't account for. But anyway, John Parry said to Francis, did you know that this painting's got no ears? Is there some really significant reason that you didn't give it ears, Francis? And Francis said, I'm not very good at ears.
Well, that's a good way to. Yeah, whatever you're not good at, just don't, just don't do it.
All right. So that was what I wanted to show you.
It's avatarmayababa.org, or you can put the paintings of Francis Brabazon by Rainey Eastman Gannett, and there's a nice story there, and it'll come up.
Yeah, you mean the one up front? This, okay. All righty.
Okay,
Thank you, Betty.
Sure.
so hey Marion, nice to see you. I thought our subject tonight is intuition. I thought we could stray into that, as I said, that elusive and enchanted realm of intuition. Baba says that intuition is always 100% correct, and the problem is accessing the intuition. That's the challenge. And you know, the great competitor for our intuition is the mind. The mind has been in charge and calling the shots for so long, and it tends to kind of make accessing our intuition very difficult. But anyway, what I'm hoping that you folks will do is share some of the experience of intuition in your own life, how you might kind of fine tune that, and how to distinguish how to distinguish between intuition and the deliverances of the mind. Intuition and the projections of the mind. Those are the two competing forces there.
I also want to add something. So
Yeah.
just for discussion, what about premonition? Like if someone has a good premonition, would that have something to do with like intuition?
Yeah. I'd say a premonition is a form of intuition.
Okay, that's what I was thinking too, but I wasn't sure. Thanks.
Yeah. I have a premonition that you're at the gateway. Okay, here's what. I'm going to read. These are some of Baba's quotes. I am never silent. I speak eternally. The voice that is heard deep within the soul is my voice, the voice of inspiration, of intuition, of guidance. Through those who are receptive to this voice, I speak. And then Baba said, when you feel something as intuition and have no doubt about it, then know it is real. Passing doubtful thoughts and temporary emotional feelings should not be given importance. But when you feel it touches your heart, follow it. When it is from the mind, it is not intuition. Intuition means that which comes from the heart. In the divine path, first there is intuition, then inspiration, then illumination, and finally realization. So again, Baba says, if it touches your heart, follow it. And God willing, from today you will know that if it is intuition, it is right. My love will help and guide you to understand what is right. So now, like I say, the problem is for ages, our mind has been the authority that we turn to when we want to know what to do. And it can express itself so authoritatively and so convincingly that it can that it's hard to believe in the intuitive flashes that we get. In other words, the voice of the intuition is very quiet, and the voice of the mind is very often very frantic and noisy and gets the attention. So being very quiet helps us to access intuition, being inwardly quiet. And actually, the thing is that our consciousness is trapped at the level of the mind in the realm of thoughts. And if we can get our consciousness down at the heart level, intuition will be much easier to manifest in us. And so anyway, here's one thing that I'll add, is that Carl Jung, he was a great psychotherapist, psychoanalysis, I don't know what you would call him. In 1925, he was in Southwest, and he interviewed one of the Native Americans, a Hopi elder. This you say 1925, and this Hopi elder said, why is the white man always so restless? Why are his eyes always so hungry looking for things? Why does he always think from his head? And Carl Jung said, Well, doesn't everybody think from their head? And this Hopi elder said, no, we think from here, meaning we think from the heart. You know, they're proceeding from intuition and not intellect. So, anyway, that's kind of by way of an introduction, and just let me see if there's anybody that has anything to say on this subject.
I do.
Okay.
So, Jai Baba, everyone.
Yeah, Jai Baba.
Earlier today, when Jeff asked me about intuition and to say something that, came to me, I've always been fascinated by the subject. I've always wondered a lot about it, and it has played a role in my life as well. But I was thinking to myself, I know I have a book somewhere on intuition, and it just didn't come into my consciousness. And so I go to my cabinet where I have all my Baba books, and I stand up in front of it and I say, Baba, I know I have something on intuition that had made a deep impression on me. And lo and behold, he takes me exactly to the book I was looking for, which I'd totally forgotten about. And this actually has to do with an Australian Baba lover. Rainey, I hope you're listening. It is a book that made such an impression on me because it is something that actually happened to her, and this was her journey, actually, how Baba brings her to him, which is fascinating. It is called The Voice of Intuition, Right from the Heart, Right as WRITE, and all this is very symbolic. And it says Intuition, the Forgotten Sixth Sense. And it's written by a lady by the name of Emily Chantiri. She's an Australian journalist who, her story is simply fascinating. It all started with a dream that she had. And she starts her very first chapter in the book. She starts by a quote with Baba, and which says, "I'm the voice of intuition, and to those who are receptive, I speak, Meher Baba." And she says, let me begin with this story with a prophetic dream that came to me just before 6:30 a.m. on Friday, March the 18th, 2011. So this is quite recent. I'm sitting alone in an old church. I look up and I see a priest walking towards me. In his hand is a piece of paper. He says, "You must take this message to the people." And then he shows me the piece of paper. I lean over to read the message. Written on the first line are two words, "Stay Myrtle," and something I cannot see. I can't read the rest of the line because the priest's fingers are covering whatever follows Myrtle. The next couple of lines read, "Stay happy and content. At the end of 13 days, see what comes." That's the extent of her dream. And so she looks up at after this and she says, "Myrtle, what do you mean?" I ask him. I want to ask him to move his finger because they're covering the crucial words at the end of the first sentence, but I don't, and I feel exasperated. I plead with him. I can't read the last word after Myrtle. At this point, she wakes up and she thinks to herself, what a strange dream. And this dream propels her journey. That's the beginning of her journey. And it's the sequence of events that take place before she has this dream and after she has this dream is just fascinating, how it all leads up to her coming, realizing what that word was after the word Myrtle, which she finally discovers after meeting quite, you would say, nothing is coincidence, of course, but again, through a strange series of events, it leads her to another Baba lover, a gentleman by the name of Robert, who was an American Baba follower and who happened to be in Australia. And she links up with him and he gives her the word that comes after Myrtle in the course of their getting to know one another and what have you. It's a fascinating story, and how she ends up coming to Myrtle Beach and how she realizes the significance of this absolutely wonderful dream that has brought her to this place. It's called The Voice of Intuition, if you can see it. Fascinating book. And just I would encourage everybody to read this book. It has so much to do about it tells you so much about intuition. And Jeff, you were asking about, how do you differentiate between intuition and what your mind is telling you? So she says, intuition is the small voice that nags you to make a decision to take action. More often than not, we choose to ignore it, usually because the course of action or decision may not bring us to our preferred outcome. Ultimately, that decision will always turn out to be the right one if you make a decision based on what brings the most peace of mind to a situation. You will know when you have taken the right course of action simply because you feel it physically. On the other hand, when you make a decision based on what you would like the outcome to be, or make a decision to appease other people, such as a loved one, then you can often feel anxious about that decision. When you feel a sense of foreboding or anxiety, it's the body's way of letting you know that you're not on the right path. So I just thought I could go into her whole story, but that would be taking up too much time and from other people. But I strongly encourage people to read this book. It is absolutely fascinating. Have you read it, Jeff?
Yeah, well, I remember when she came to the center,
yeah,
and also she came to India.
Yeah. Oh, she did finally.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because she said a lot of people were telling her after she came to Myrtle Beach that you have to go to India. You have to even her life partner, and he couldn't understand why she didn't have the urge to go until one day she said she was in a meditative state and just asked Baba, why is it that I'm not wanting to go to India? And she said and that Baba said to her, when the time is right, I will tell you to go.
Beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
she did finally go up.
Which is his intuitive voice,
Yes.
Yes. Can you give any example that comes to mind in your own life where I mean, here's one thing that I could say when someone has been with Baba a long time, sometimes your very life is what can I say? Your very life becomes an embodiment of intuition.
Yes, that's
and you're
right.
not necessarily getting any messages because you are living from love,
yes.
which is the pure intuition.
Yeah.
I mean, someone like Erich, I mean, I felt like he was so intuitive, and yet he wasn't receiving message. It was in his body.
Yes,
the way he responded. So sometimes I know a person who had a whole period of time with great intuitions, and then she felt she lost them. And I said, you didn't lose them. You're living. The intuitions now come into your life, and you are living it.
Right. When you live from the heart, yes.
Yeah.
When you live from the heart, then.
And there's a knowing also that comes across. And I imagine that you're having grown up with Baba, it becomes, an
automatic.
Automatic.
Yeah, automatic.
Yeah.
Right. And yes, it has. And even from the other side, I mean, I could say, I've had when I've met somebody, for instance, for the first time, I all of a sudden had a very uneasy feeling about this person. I had a very negative, if you will say, if you want to say it for a better word, and I didn't know why. And then all of a sudden down the road, it became clear as to why I had that feeling. So
yeah,
because that person did affect my life very negatively. So let's put it that way.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you learn to trust. You learn to trust those feelings when they come from the heart. Yeah, and that's intuition.
Yeah. Well, let's see what Rainey has to say there.
I was thinking about something I read when I was very young, and intuitively it came up as soon as I put the two words in. Actually, from a research point of view, it came up when I put the two right words in. And this is the trick. Was it intuitively, or was it due to sanskaras of having put the work in? Discrimination and Intuition by Maya Baba from the Discourses.
Ah,
Realization of God comes to the aspirant who uses discrimination as well as their intuition about true and lasting values. Realization of God comes to the aspirant who uses discrimination as well as his intuition about true and lasting values. Infinite knowledge is latent in everyone, but it has to be unveiled. The way to increase knowledge is to put into practice that bit of spiritual wisdom a person may already happen to have. The teachings that have come to humanity through the masters of wisdom and the inborn sense of values that the aspirant brings with him shed sufficient light upon the next step the aspirant is to take. The difficult thing is to act upon the knowledge he has, i.e., trusting that feeling that Goher mentioned in her book. One of the best methods of adding to one's own spiritual wisdom is to make use of the knowledge one already has. I always found this line fascinating
yeah.
from when I
Beautiful.
was 20 to now.
Mhm.
And everyone's
too.
born with some different wisdom, so to say. But the difficult thing is to act upon the knowledge he has. One of the best methods of adding to one's own spiritual wisdom is to make use of the knowledge one already has. Everyday life must be guided by discrimination and inspired by the highest intuitions. Everyday life must be guided by discrimination and inspired by the highest intuitions. Discourses, page 261.
Yeah, and I think there that the discrimination is to separate or make the distinction between intuition and the deliverances of the mind.
And I think in modern English, for us people being spiritual, discernment is possibly a better word
Yeah,
than discrimination. To learn the skill of discerning, is that intuition, or do I just can't stand that person and I'm going to be late and blame it on Mercury going retrograde? We've got to sort of use that wonderful thing of what we're born with in wisdom, what we've attained, and the discernment and inspired highest intuition. It's a tricky thing, huh?
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, later on I'll go on how you can fine tune it, but one of the things is that I mean, just to give an example in my own life. So suppose I think someone is not telling me the truth. And then I found out later that they were telling me the truth. So that means that my mind had projected onto them and I had gone with what I thought the conclusion of my mind. I know it's not an intuition, because an intuition would know that the person was honest. You know what I mean? So then when my mind projects something false like that, I turn to it and I say, mind, I can't believe you. You said that the person was dishonest, and it proved that they were honest. And so over time, after 50 years, you start to take the power out of what Darwin used to call the tyranny of the mind. So it's a method that can sharpen the intuition by seeing where luckily life can prove that when you made a mistake. You go, say someone invites you to a party. You say, oh God, I don't want, that's going to be a boring party. And then you go to the party and you have a great time. So that means the mind had come in there and called the shots, made the prediction. And most people, they just kind of dismiss that. But I always kind of felt, no, I got to hold my mind accountable. Otherwise, it'll continue to do this type of thing. So anyway, it's one way life is a way of self-correcting. Anyway, that's let's go on to Mayor Chand.
Hey, Jai Meher Baba Jeff.
Yeah.
Intuition, how to distinguish. Baba explained it on 11th May 1952 at Middle Bridge. What Baba says is, Baba was explaining to Michael and Anne, the couple, about how to distinguish the intuition. When you feel something in intuition, have no doubt about it, then know it is real. Then know it is real. Passing doubt, thoughts, temporary emotional feeling should not be given importance. But when you feel it touches his heart, follow it. When it is a form of a mind, it is not institution. Institution means that which comes from the heart. In the divine path, first there is an intuition, then an inspiration, then illumination, and finally realization. If touches your heart, follow it. And God willing, from today you will know that if it is an intuition, it is right. My love will help you and guide you and understand what is right. Love Baba. God wants the honest love, and He will honestly and wants honest love. So love Baba. God will help you in your quest of truth. Lord Meher, first edition, page 3812, and also revised online edition of 2017 3072 on 11th May 1952, Middle Beach.
Yeah, thank you. That's there. Baba's giving a real key into that whole process. Marion, have you got any anything that comes to mind, or how you try to make? I mean, it's really down to decision making. How do we go about making decisions in life, big and small, critical and minor?
Well, I remember in the discourses, and I paraphrase, I don't have any direct quotes in front of me, but this very subject that you've been reading and talking about, and that is how we're here to balance the head and the heart, with the heart leading the way. That is intuition, and that is God. So, and somewhere in there also is about, in the world of duality, it's like we live with two opposites. And so we have to know these very intimately before we can let them go and merge into the unitive state and allow intuition to come through. So as an example, the two sides of the coin Baba has in there, there's happiness and unhappiness, pain and pleasure, life and death. It's duality. And so I grew up a very rebellious type child, but always trying to fit myself into my family and be the good girl and be submissive, be the slave. So that created tremendous opposition in my life and problems. So what I learned is that these two sides of the coin, there's one, the other side's aggression. So my submissive one has an unconscious of hatred, and I'm going to get you. I'll give up all my needs for you and to please you. That's the submissive slave. But underneath is a lot of negativity. And then on the other, so for me, I've had to go to the aggressive side without acting it out, do a lot of psychodrama, go to therapy, have some help, and bring out the tyrant in me. And that was one of the scariest things I ever had to do for years, because I learned as a child, and Baba said, I don't have to go into a whole lot of past lives. I can just stick with this life if I want. And that is, being the outer slave seemed to save my life as a child. Being that tyrant, I would lose love. So it's these buried cellular beliefs I've had to bring to the surface, and I still do. I don't have to do any more digging, but I do have to bring what's buried in my cellular memory out. So I have techniques to do that. Then I can set an intention for whatever I am needing my intuition to arise about, and ask for whatever my language is. Intention is a wonderful word that I love, that vibration, that my intention is, and then I'll complete the sentence. And then it's no longer figuring out intuition because it's knowing. The intuition is knowing. I just know when it's there. I do, when I'm befuddled, I do have to go in and activate these two sides of the coin, hold them both equally, my tyrant, my slave, and I always turn over to Baba, and I always tell Baba what I'm doing when I'm doing a little psychodrama in my bedroom, and turn it over to Baba, and it will just come through because I've unclogged the channels.
Beautiful. Yeah, you've kind of they've neutralized each other, and then then the knowing comes.
Yes, it's the unclogging takes place. Yes.
I mean, the beautiful thing that, Baba says that intuition is always correct. It's like incredible. We have something on us, something on the premises that actually knows what to do in this world. I mean, of course, we have to unclog it, as you say, or clear it out. But I always found this is fantastic. We can actually, it's not all darkness down here. We can be following something that has that ring of truth to it. Yeah, so Lanita.
Hi, Jai Baba, everyone.
Yeah.
I just want to share a little bit of our life in Brazil with my family. Everything was about intuition. There is no doubt about it. I never thought about, because my mother used to say, oh, I don't have a good feeling about this, or I have a very good feeling about that. She was always like in tune with her intuition, her feelings about things in life or people, whatever. She was always bringing it up, her intuition so I never really thought about, because it's natural for us to think that way, and we like very much some women who are seers. We have many seers in my hometown, so because they have a very high intuition, about things, or they making it up. We never know which one is it true, but we used to love to see them. When I was a teenager with my older sister, she would say, oh, there's a great seers in such and such a place. We'd run there to see that seer because we want to know how she would do it. How you know that, So it was kind of funny, but that's what I like to share. It's not actually I in my adult life, since I left home and I came to the States.
Uh-oh, we lost the audio.
You got muted, Lanita.
Oh, still can't hear you.
You can't hear me?
Now we got you. Yeah.
Okay.
Now you said that then you'd gone to New York, or you came to this country, and then what?
And then, like life goes on, and I kind of lost a little bit. I separate from my family, from my mother, from my clan, my brothers and sisters. So I separate from them. And then I was the only one who went to live in a different country, So, and I kind of lost that touch with that, I was accustomed to be in touch with my intuition, but I lost that, I felt that I lost. I became a little bit more rational, yeah. And then, but I just want to share that was always part of our, of growing up, and we had.
What do you do? How do you experience intuition today?
I don't trust. That's it. I have this feeling, I have this thought, and then when the event passed, when happened or not happened, then I said, oh, I knew it. Why I didn't trust my intuition? Yeah. I knew it. I just knew it. Oh my God, I have this thought that just crossed my mind. This thought crossed my mind, and why I didn't follow this. It's always like that. It happened many times. I mean,
yeah.
And I get upset because I don't trust that sparkle or that first thought, or that,
Yeah.
thing. Sridhar in this meeting, you guys know Sridhar, right?
From India,
Yeah, the trust guy there. So he was saying in this meeting that he gave a talk in this Bombay Zoom meeting of the Baba Center in Bombay. So he was at the last thing that he said, he said something like that. He said, when you want to know something, and you talk to Baba about it, you talk to Baba, you vent to Baba, whatever you want to do, you ask or not ask, whatever you want to communicate with Baba with that subject that you have in mind. And then you be quiet. You don't even have to look Baba's picture. You just, think of Baba strongly. And then after that, you wait, you put your right hand on your heart, put a hand on your heart. And then then you wait. Can you meditate in that state a little bit with Baba, and then the first word that comes to your mind, the first sentence or word or thought or feeling is Baba's answer to you. That's his answer. But you have to catch the first one, the first, right in the beginning of your, of you being meditating with Baba and asking you the question or the thought, whatever it is. You have to be very alert and very awake for that first thought. Then that's the answer for you. But then, I don't know. I thought it was beautiful the way that's what he does. That's what he does. It's not the same for everybody. But he was telling his experience with Baba and with his life with Baba and stuff. So I don't know if I like that, because I am afraid that I'm going to listen to the voice of my ego also. My ego is going to tell me one thing, and then I'm going to believe, and then that's it, finish the conversation. When I don't know when, then is Baba telling me, my intuition, which is Baba, which is my higher self. I believe that it's all the same thing, Baba, my higher self and intuition.
Yeah.
And then where is my ego? My selfishness, my ego selfish, that is giving me that, last word. And I get confused sometimes, which one is which, which one is talking to me, And I've been asking Baba for that clarity. I've been talking to Baba seriously about, just give me the sign, the clarity. There's something different. It's gotta be something different between when my intuition is kicking in and when my ego, it wants to do what he wants, So then he's gonna tell me what to do because that's what he wants, my ego. And then, that's what and it was so easy. My family was growing up. There's no doubt about it. My mother used to say all the time, oh, I know somebody's gonna, that guy is coming to the house today, right? Your cousin, whatever. And then next thing I know, the guy was there,
Yeah.
So the cousin or the uncle or, whatever,
Yeah.
we're going to have a visit today. We're going to have a visit. That she'll make cake and she'll make good coffee and wait. And there was the person at the door. I was like, what? How you do this? Yeah. I was never so strong like she was, but I grew up seeing her and we are trying to catch up with her intuition. That's funny. It was Beautiful. A good experience. Yeah. It was wonderful to have that, role model of my mother following her intuition.
Yeah, no, I know Darwin used to say, a lot of it is trial and error. It's, you just have to think, well, this was an intuition, and then you find out it wasn't. It was just a projection. You know, you just
Yes,
kind of,
exactly.
and you get better and better at it. You know. Anyway, Rainey, what do you?
Well, I was going to say,
Are you
and
cool?
Lenita led into it perfectly, that hope can get in the way. My mentor had a thing about hope, and he's even nasty to hope in some of his poems, and says that hope lures us, but it's really, it can tell you some fibs about yourself. That when you were certain, suddenly you brought in hope, and it got rid of certain. You have to be careful of hope. You have to be careful of self-derogatory things. As Marion said, you have to be faithful to intention, and you have to practice. Love, oh boy, love in marriages. You have to practice it. It's not a given. And so it becomes a karma yoga. You have to practice it. So you have to go by your intuition. And oh gosh, 1 in 7 and I got it wrong, so it must be my ego and I must be wrong. No, 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 no. Be certain it'll be right next time. Don't go there. And where Baba says here in the discourses, the truths absorbed in the mind in the life after death become in the next incarnation a part of inborn wisdom. God is telling us that we're born with that. And you naughty girl, and we were going right, and all these things make us doubt and hope we get it right. No, be certain you'll get it right next time. It developed intuition, consolidated and compressed understanding. It's compressed understanding. It's distilled through multitude of diverse experiences gathered in previous lives. That's in us. We have it, but we hope we'll get it. Oh dear God, we've got it. Oh no, I hope I'll get it. Oh gosh, I've got it. We've got to be certain. And different styles start with different degrees of intuitive wisdom. So we can go by other people's born intuitive wisdom too, and think that bit of intuition was actually a lot more savvy than mine. Even that bit of instinct was more savvy than my intuition. Go on learning. This intuition may seem to have been the product of past experiences, thus adding to the equipment of the psyche, but it is more truly an unfoldment of what was already in the individualized soul. So we have to be certain, have intention, and go for it, and keep trying for that D minor on the 7th fret, because eventually we'll get it, and we'll trust we'll get it and do it.
Yeah. No, it can be a great experiment rather than a dreaded thing. You get better and better at it. So you kind of, a lot of the mental projections get cleared away and you can actually see what's right in front of your eye. I mean, it's all right here in front of us if the cataracts are removed by surgery of life. Mahu.
The guy at Pete's Coffee, I took the lid off the coffee to put something in, and I kept trying to put the lid on. And he's watching me grinning, and he said, "You don't have intention. You must have intention to put the lid back on."
Yeah.
And then what did you say, Rainey?
I said, "Jay Baba, thank you." And he grinned. He had no idea what I was talking about.
So Mahu, what's your how does intuition lived out in your life?
Well, I really don't think much about intuition. I never have. Not never. I very seldom, very little, when in a context of it. But to me, intuition is a God-given gift. We all have a strength and weaknesses. Some people naturally, they're more connected with their inner being and their heart. Therefore, they have a more clear clarity and more clear intuition. Um, and I mean, sometimes people tell me I have good intuition. I don't know what it means. But I think I agree, not I think, I agree with Darwin and what you said. The more that we do pay attention, just like Eric said, pay attention. The more we pay attention to it, the more we get good at it. You see, the more we get good at it. The way I do it now, I just tune in with Baba. Sometimes it naturally comes to me, but mostly I meditate with Baba. I try to feel his presence and I ask him the question. And when I feel the joy in my heart, when I feel that certainty and assurance, I know it is what Baba wants. See, for me is, who cares about intuition? I don't really. I mean, Jeff, I must tell you my honest heart. All I care is, how can I be closer to Baba? How can I love him more and more? How can I remember him more and stay away from my false self? There's a destination that I like to, traverse through and go through it and get there. Whatever that gets me there sooner, gets me there quicker. That's it. I know loving Baba does. So my focus is more on loving Baba. Yeah.
Well, one thing that I said at the beginning, and this is where your life itself becomes an embodiment of intuition.
Yes.
And you don't necessarily have these little you don't necessarily have the voice anymore. It's coming through you.
Yes.
And that's a beautiful thing.
Yes. And it's very natural. Sometimes you don't even notice it.
Yeah, completely. It becomes so natural, really. Let's see what Josh says about his exams. No.
No,
you go ahead.
I'd say I didn't get very many intuitions about my exams, but I'd also say that's because I wasn't really striving to get any intuitions about my exams. It's a funny old thing. In my experience, often the solution can be very simple. I think if I want to be more intuitive, I've only got to get creative and find ways to open up myself towards the intuition. I think the biggest block towards me being intuitive is the fact that I'm so busy and focused on other things. And, a good way that I might use is I might be playful. I might just think, what would Baba want me to do in this situation? And much like the psychodrama that Marion was talking about, by just being playful and getting creative, I think it's like a magical little door opens up and something comes out, and I loved Marion's example of how she was dealing with like complex dynamics and emotional charges in a very playful way. I think that for me, it's that play that is so critical for me to access my intuition and to and then suddenly it's like a light goes on and I can do it. I've only got to ask and I get it. But I'm interested in hearing how other people access their intuition and what kind of intuitions they're getting right now in the present moment. But yes, that's all. Thank you.
Yeah, good. Yeah, no, I mean there because there's so many different ways of that intuition manifests in us, and anybody that can add another form of manifestations, all the better. Mayor Prasad, anything that comes to mind from about intuition with you?
I think that's not already been said. Um, Generally, you know, I I don't try to ask my intuition unless I'm prepared to really follow what the answer is, and that is very rarely the case. So I don't try. I deliberately try uh, not try to access it because I don't know if I'll be able to follow whatever the answer is. So I just try to deliberately stay away from it.
No, that's an approach there, folks.
Yes, that's a very good idea. I have a mentor who would walk away from things deliberately because he didn't believe in hunches. And then he would wait for the hunch to tap him on the shoulder. He walked away from an invitation to come to New York to meet the Avatar. And about 5 months later, it came and tapped him on the shoulder and he went there. And 5 months after that, the Avatar came to New York. So that's a very good idea, Mayor Prashad. You hang on to it.
Yeah. I mean,
But
these are.
I have a couple of Baba sayings that really shed a lot of light on that part. So let me read. You
Yeah,
want me
go
to
ahead. Yeah.
go? Actually, there may be 3 or 4 of them. Okay, this is from Life at its Best. Learn the art of taking your stand on the truth within. When you live in this truth, the result is the fusion of the mind and the heart, and the end of all fears and sorrow. It is not a dry attainment of mere power or intellectual knowledge. A love which is illumined by the intuitive wisdom of the Spirit will bless your life with ever renewing fulfillment and never ending sweetness.
Yeah. Beautiful. What words, boy.
And this one is from Discourses. I think Rainey read the part that is after this, so I'll read a little bit before that. The fret and fury of immediate responses to the changing situations of earthly life is replaced in life after death by a more leisurely mood, freed from the urgency of immediately needed actions. All the experiences of the earthly career are now available for reflection in a form more vivid than is possible through memory in earthly life. The shots of earthly life have all been taken on the cinematic film of the mind, and it is now time to study the original earthly life through the magnified projections of the filmed record on the screen of subjectivized consciousness. Thus, the hell state and the heaven state become instrumental in the assimilation of experiences acquired in the earthly phase, and the individualized soul can start its next incarnation in a physical body with all the advantages of digested experience. The lessons learned by the soul through such stock taking and reflection are confirmed in the mental body by the power of their magnified suffering or happiness. They become, for the next incarnation, an integral part of the intuitive makeup of active consciousness without in any way involving detailed revival of the individual events of the previous incarnation.
Yeah. Your distilled experience. You know, here's an interesting thing. This is only remotely connected with what you're saying, but Bao used to say, Bao Kalchuri, and I think he got it from Baba, that Baba gives you a little heaven and hell as you go along. And as you get toward the end of your life, he's balanced heaven and hell so that when you die, you go right to Baba. And then you go either to liberation or he puts you into a Baba family. But we're not going one way or that. We're not going to heaven or hell. We're going right to Baba. And these heaven and hell, I mean, the good and bad have been annulled, so that you're kind of. And I've been at the death of a lot of the Baba people, and they are in such a great place. They say, Jeff, this is, boy, you know this. Where you are is nowhere. You know, this is great back here. So we have a beautiful thing ahead of us, you know, but of course that's only temporary because then we come back again. And then we got to learn the multiplication tables again and learn how to spell and for the umpteenth time. Okay. So Mayor Prasad, did you have any more?
Yeah, I have one last thing
Yeah.
from this book. It's a beautiful one that Baba said about the inner voice, which is basically intuition. This is, okay, let me read these 2 paragraphs. Veena Talati, a longtime Baba lover, whose husband Naval had been at Sakori when Baba was still known as Merwan, came with her daughter Perviz. She wasn't sure if this happened in 1963 or 1965, but 1963 seems more probable. Perviz writes, "This time my mother and I were alone with Baba, with Iruch interpreting. My mother, who had some questions for Baba but had been unable to contact him, asked, 'When you are in seclusion and we need you, what do we do?' Baba replied, 'Ask me here,' and he put his hand on her heart."
No, can you read that again? And come a little closer too. Where? Yeah.
When you are in seclusion and we need you, what do we do? Baba replied, "Ask me here." And he put his hand on her heart, and I will answer. But remember, he continued, the first voice you hear is my voice. Very soon, another voice may contradict what you heard. That is not my voice. Only if you are prepared to hear that first voice, ask me. And with emphasis, he added, I will definitely answer.
Yeah, that's what, and Parviz was married to Sridhar.
Yeah.
And that's what Lanita said, a version of the same thing. Yeah. Paula, what about you? Anything that comes to mind? Or any
Did I unmute?
Yeah, we can hear you, but now we can't. Yeah, now we see you too.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, everything that everybody has been saying are like jewels. You know, it's like I listen usually to all the late night chats at other times and different recordings and stuff. And I get frustrated because I feel like I just want to soak it all in like a sponge and and feel like it gets full and then it doesn't go in. Because it's really precious. Intuition is I'm glad Balnatu said to me that that clarity of mind is God working with us and confusion of mind is God working within us, because most of the time I'm pretty confused. And it's like when it's been important, if it's really important, like in my life, Baba will tell me. He just tells me. It's like a hammer on my head because that's the way he's got to work with me, so I get it. Otherwise it's difficult to trust. One time a family friend, they were having kind of a family crisis, and I was thinking, and the ego gets in the way too. I mean, it's just, there's so many things that obstruct intuition. The ego is certainly one of them. But anyway, it was like, should I go there? I mean, they're only 6 miles away, but anyway, should I go there? What should I do? So I opened up some Hafiz poems, and 3 times he said yes. It took 3 times he had to tell me. So anyway, and it worked out. I was supposed to be there. But yeah, it's hard to, the Mandali are the best example of, they have that clarity. I think it's about that inner connection with Baba in the heart. And the clearer that connection is, it's less obstructed, and he can get done what he wants to get done. And most of the time I don't have a clue what that is or how to do it. You know, but it was like with the mandali, it was like they knew things, you know, and it's like, how did you know that? But there was nothing attached to their knowing. There was no ego attached to it. I mean, they knew things about me. They knew things about my husband that nobody had told them. I didn't tell them. And but that clarity was there. And so Baba could use that, like you've talked about that with Ariach, it would just come through. And he knew what he needed to know for us to help us along. So anyway, I don't know much. that's kind of where I am. But I love to listen to all of these. Yeah. And something I've noticed is that everything that I go to, you know, it's like with Baba, sometimes it gets to be too much. So I kind of back off, and it's just like, Baba, I just want to be with you. But then what I'm watching him do with these Zoom events and with all of us, because these places, Late Night Chat, Effort and Grace, and I'm on another one, that these places are so safe and so intimate. It feels to me like we're able to tell our stories. And what I feel I'm watching is Baba is helping us move through those stories and out of them into another place with him. And it's freer. It's a place of freedom. You, Jeff, were talking in one of the most recent ones about how, you know, there really isn't good and bad. And there's a way to look at our past lives, you know, and I don't know, I don't remember, but it's like, it's okay to take responsibility for what's happened to me in this lifetime, because I needed to know that. And it's the experience. And it's like, I think Baba is doing incredible healing through all of these Zoom places where we can get together and be safe.
Beautiful. You know, I'll tell you one thing that I feel is that by trying to be loving in the present for Baba is the highest intuition. Even if we struggle and have difficulties, if we're trying to be loving in the present, we are tuning in to the highest intuition, I feel. Whether we know what we're doing, you know, in other words, if someone came over to your house and they were in trouble, in need, you would respond, you know. Like, you may not even know exactly what to do, but the knowing comes just by the loving response, you know. It's a beautiful, we're more intuitive than, I guess I'm saying we're much more intuitive than we think. Because we are trying to respond to please Baba by expressing love in this world. And whether you get a flash of it or anything, it's the fact that you're doing it, that we're doing it. You know, I just say I had 4 intuitions from childhood. I didn't even believe in God. I didn't know anything about God. I mean, we were the heathens in the neighborhood. I mean, we were a very loving family, and we believed in kind of one family of humanity. But there were a number of things I knew, and I don't know. No one ever told me about intuitions or all that kind of stuff. One was, I knew that what I was looking for in life, I would find in New York City. I didn't know what I didn't know what I was looking for, but when I had a whole choice of colleges, I grew up on the West Coast, and I had a whole choice of colleges on the East Coast. I'd choose New York, Columbia University in New York, and that's where I heard of Baba. Another one was I had a very blessed life, a very fortunate life. How would I know that? But it has certainly turned out to be. The other one was I would never have children, even though I've been very close with kids. I have, such a great time with kids and everything. How would I know something like that? And then the last one, I don't know if this one has changed or not, but I would live to a ripe old age. But they've all happened. I don't know how that, by what, so certain things you can kind of know about future events in your life, But I asked Balkauturi, I asked, did you have any idea growing up that you would be one of the intimate Mandali of the Avatar? He said he had no idea. I thought that was really funny. I mean, he didn't have a clue. So, I just thought that was kind of funny, that such a destiny. Lenita.
Well, I just want to say that before I came to New York, I had these strong feelings to go to New York, very, very strong. And I did everything I could to come to New York. So even it was a lot of difficulties because I had children and I had an ex-husband and I have responsibilities there. But the feeling of coming was, I was a dancer and I got a student visa, for this dance company. And then it was just 2 years of trying to come and getting my paperwork together and stuff. But I had this strong pulling. It was like unbelievable. I said, what? And then my father said, are you crazy? You have family, you have your children. What are you doing? Why you have to go to New York? Why don't you go to São Paulo, which is much closer, not another country? But I don't know. I pondered this and I knew I was crazy. I said, I know I'm crazy, but I have this feeling that I gotta go. Well, I went to New York. So, and then the first day I was there, this lady who I was there with her, I was staying with her. She was also a dancer. She was the one who invited me to come to New York. She said that, well, I'm gonna call Sarah Pearson. And Sarah Pearson was a Baba lover. I didn't know. I had no idea. So she said, because I knew Sarah, I didn't know Sarah, but I had her phone number. So she called up. She wasn't there. She wasn't there, but there was a man there house sitting for her. There was he came to become my husband. After that, in the future. But he was there and she talked to him because I didn't speak well English. So this woman who I stay with her, Claudia, she was the dancer. She said, she talked to him. I didn't know what she was doing because I didn't understand well. And after that, she said, well, Sarah is not in town, but there's a man there house sitting for her. And I said, oh, okay, fine. And then after a few weeks, I met him. I met this guy. He was a Baba lover, and he's the one who introduced me to Baba. So the first time we met, because I called Sarah and she wasn't there, and he called me back to tell me that she wasn't in town yet. And we met. He said, you want to meet or whatever? They have a cup of coffee, and said, okay. So and first thing he did was to show me a card of Baba with Baba's picture, and that's what I figure. He was the bait for Baba to get me, so he was just the means, because Baba wants to get to me, and Ira was this the bait to get. And right away, right, I wasn't even a month in New York until and then I met Ira and he told me about Baba, and then I went to Sarah's house where she was house sitting, and Baba's pictures all over the place, Baba's books and Baba's pictures. So, so I don't even know why I'm telling all this.
Well, I mean, yeah. Well, the same thing that happened to me. You got drawn to New York, thinking you were going for another purpose, and yeah. No, beautiful.
So what I'm so clear now, afterwards I was not that time, but after years of, then I came about Baba grew on me slowly. Baba got me slowly, wasn't right away, but he slowly, he's kind of conquer me, conquer my heart, So, and I just say that, my God, I can't believe, I came all the way down from in Brazil, to New York to find out about Meher Baba. And that was Baba's intention, I think. I have no doubt about this right now, at this moment.
Sure.
And right now in my life. And now I'm living in Myrtle Beach, so can't get better than that. And I volunteer to the center almost every day. So
Denise, do you mind me asking, who was it that showed you the Baba card?
It was Ira Gross.
Oh my goodness, there you go. You never know who the people are with the Baba cards. It's amazing. Good for him.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I married him. Sometime later we got married, and we lived together until 2016 when he passed away.
Yeah, he was the best.
Wonderful.
Yeah. So see what Paula has her hand. Yeah.
Yeah, I forgot. Bob's he's been very weird with me. But I did the same thing. That's how I got to the Northwest. When Christian was almost a year old, it was like we lived in Flagstaff, Arizona, and I had this incredible, undeniable pull to come to Seattle. And I kind of dragged my husband and my baby with me. It was something we just had to do. And I was already a Baba lover, but what was strange was Baba didn't let me. Let's see. I found out about Baba. I was in LA, and I went to UCLA, and I heard Adi, and didn't understand a word he said when he came for Baba's birthday in 1970. Yeah, and because I heard about Baba in '69. So, but then it was like. And then I was around Baba people for the first couple years, but then we moved to Flagstaff and I couldn't find anybody. Baba really kept me away from Baba lovers for years. And when I moved to Seattle, I would write to Box 1101 and they said, no, there's no Baba lovers up there. And there were, of course. And so it was really strange, but he, I don't know why he worked it that way, but then later on there was a big Baba group here, and that was really fun. But the times that I needed something, Baba hit me over the head, because I have to be hit over the head. I was going to move from San Diego once to Flagstaff, and because I didn't know what to do. Most of my life it's like, Baba, I don't know what to do. Right now I'm 73, I don't know what to do. What do you want? No. I don't know. So anyway, so I thought I was going to move to Flagstaff. So I packed my little car up, and I'm in the mountains outside of San Diego, and my car's heating up. It's a little car. And I pull into a gas station and have a guy look at it, and he says, I can't find anything, but it was heating up and I can't find anything. And I'm headed toward the desert. So when I pulled out of that gas station, Baba's face was in front of me, and it was really big, like in the Don't Worry, Be Happy picture. And he was shaking in the most loving way. He was just shaking his head no. And I argued with him all the way to Gila Bend. I'm driving through the desert and I'm saying, but Baba. And he was going, yeah, that's all he did. He just, in the most loving way. And I said, well, Baba, everybody's going to laugh at me. And he said, no, nobody's gonna laugh at you. And I turned around and went home, and my life went a different way. And I moved to Los Angeles and met my husband, and you know, and
Yeah.
life goes on. Yeah, that's the whole story.
No,
But
it's beautiful how he different ways he intervenes. Like that. What about Meph? Anything that about
intervention.
intuition?
Jeff.
What's that?
Jeff, intervention. If he intervenes. So
Yeah.
what do we do then if we get the intuition and we're going left when we should be going right and he intervenes? How do we know when he intervenes, Jeff?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead, Meph. Yeah.
Yeah, I've known for the last 2 years anyway that I was going to have to move out of this house. It's old. It's not that old, but people tell me. But I've been here 50 years and I can't take care of it anymore. And I'm finding it more difficult to take care of myself. And people have been telling me, pushing me to do this or do that. In fact, there's one person who isn't speaking to me anymore. And I think probably it's because he paid for someone to come in and analyze my situation. And then I didn't follow her advice, which was to move. But things have happened in the last, year maybe, one by one. Things have happened to sort of push me, Baba pushing me in the direction he wants me to be. And I've resisted listening to other people because I know that's not what Baba wants. And I have to wait, not act on what I think, but wait and see what it is that kind of gently moves me toward it. And so I think I told you, Jeff, that a couple of weeks ago I fell on my nose. That was sort of not exactly the last straw, but it was definitely a straw. And the fire department here has sort of moved in and taken over my life. And they sent someone today who has lists of places in Tucson to live, places that I can afford, which is a big thing. And so it's all kind of falling into place. And I haven't done anything exactly except wait for guidance. And maybe that's intuition, I don't know. But it's like I know this is not what I'm supposed to do, or I'll just wait and see what Baba does. And he does something.
Yeah, and it sounds like very slowly he's, got a hold of your itinerary.
Yes.
But it's unfolding a little slower than most people most people are accustomed to.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. Good. Well, I hope you get into a nice place that you really enjoy and it's not so big that you can take care of.
Thank you.
Yeah. Marion's got her hand.
Oh.
There you are. You're good.
Oh, I was thinking of saying something, but I didn't have my hand up yet. So I guess you saw my hand, my energy hand.
Yeah, your hand is up there.
Something that in following intuition, as I said when I first shared, I'm aware that God, Baba is like an ever-flowing river. But I sometimes have a boulder in it, or I have something that clogs it up, and it's up to me to unclog so that it can flow. So something I've been doing, so this is just something kind of fun that it's not a recommendation, but I find since I have to do so much for myself, I live alone. I've just come through this fractured hip from an accident I've had, and I had a lot of help, which I don't have anymore. And I have to ask more for what I need, and that's not my greatest thing. So I always have to practice asking for what I need and call my neighbors. I have wonderful neighbors. So I had started a while back, and I continue it now. I have an old-fashioned kitchen timer. And since I have so much to do, I know I need to balance doing with the active with the receptive. That is the natural nature of all movement here on this planet, on this dualistic planet, is movement. And so I set my timer for 15 minutes. And when it goes off, whatever I'm doing, I ask Baba within, what's next? Then I listen. And whatever I hear, I go do that. And then I'll set it again for another 15 minutes, and no matter what I'm doing. And my Marion, who's a little bit compulsive, if I'm doing the dishes, I want to finish doing the dishes. But Baba may say something else, like, go do something else. I'll stop that and go do whatever I hear inside. So it's like really practicing the balance of doing the active and the receptive, so there's balance in my life, because I tend to get unbalanced with too much doing. So it kind of makes it interesting and alive and a surprise, lots of surprises.
And I bet Baba gets a kick out of that. Because who would come up with, only you and Baba could come up with something so original. You know what I mean? It's got original, it's so original that it's got to be right out of his playbook.
It really brings a lightheartedness to my life, where I can tend to get kind of heavy with all the things I have to do.
No, I like that very much. I'll tell you, go ahead, Goer.
No, I was just going to end my little contribution. I found another quote in Emily's book, which Baba has a quote of Baba's, and it's just so beautiful. She prefaces the quote by saying, "It's worth saying that the terms inner voice, instinct, and intuition all imply the same thing." Meher Baba nails the feeling of intuition with the following quote, which I love. So the quote is, "When you feel something as intuition and have no doubt about it, then know it is real. Passing doubtful thoughts and temporary emotional feelings should not be given importance. But when you feel it touches your heart, follow it. When it is from the mind, it is not intuition. Intuition means that which comes from the heart. In the divine path, first there is intuition, then inspiration, then illumination, and finally realization. If it touches your heart, follow it, and God willing, from today, you will know that it is intuition. You will know that if it is intuition, it is right."
Beautiful.
Yeah.
I just happened to think of a couple of things. One was, there's one lady that worked at the center, and she was kind of like, she didn't believe in this whole intuition and stuff coming from Baba, and she's kind of pretty much down to earth. And like I say, she's very suspicious of this. So she's living in Salt Lake City, Utah, in this huge high rise, and she's got an apartment way up, and there's it's kind of far away from the Baba world, you might say. It's kind of a Mormon stronghold. Anyway, she's up in her apartment, and she gets this message. Go down and do a laundry right now. She thinks, go do a laundry? But I mean, it's like has a certain kind of authority to it. She just said, I'm not, this is ridiculous. This, it never happens to her. But she kind of fights it, and then she says, okay, I'll go down and do my laundry. She doesn't know whether it's Baba or who it is or what it is. She goes down to the basement of this, this huge condominium, and she's kind of cleaning. She's, starting to do her washing and everything. And there's an Indian family over there, and she hears that they're talking and everything, and she overhears the name Shireen. So she, she happens to kind of say, Shireen, where did that name come from? And then they say, well, we're Baba lovers and we're here and everything. You're Baba lovers. And so now they start having Baba meetings in this condominium with this Indian family. Right. So you just, and now here's another touching story I heard today. There, because I brought up this idea of intuition, and there was one of the Baba women here. She got this intuition: go to the beach right away. So she leaves her condo and goes down to the beach, and she walks down there, and there is a man there with his son. The son is about 18 and is a Down syndrome child. And she stops and talks with him, and she says, I have my brother. She doesn't say my brother, she says it in the most delicate way, but the father knows exactly, what her brother was like, so as not to offend and she could see that the father was very worried, and she felt to say, love will take care of it all. And he knew exactly what she was saying, because he was worried for 18 years. What if he died before his son? That was his worry. And she said, love will take care, will take care of it. And he knew.
He needed to hear that.
And he was so relieved, profoundly relieved, and he thanked her. But there it is, just answered this thing, go down to the beach right now. So these are like beautiful things that Baba does with some people.
If that brought to mind a little story, a short story of when Franny was little, my Down syndrome daughter, who's now 40, we were in a very involved program, as they would have in Berkeley, of Child Development Center for a variety of differences and disabilities. One of the women in that program had a daughter of mixed racial origin. It wasn't so evident when she was little. Anyway, that woman became famous, and I didn't see her again. But we all spent 3 years around each other, or 2 years around each other with babies, little weeny babies having, intervention and lemon on spoons to make their faces screw up and all sorts of involved things. Anyway, many years later, I ran into that woman again, and she had become a famous radio announcer on KPFA, like famous. And we exchanged greetings, and our girls were doing well, and special ed had really flourished here. That's why I came back here. Many years after that again, like 9 years ago, I get a phone call, and it's a man who said, "You don't know me, but I grew up in Germany and Rome with your husband. I was diplomatic corps too. Would you like to come over to dinner?" And they lived right nearby. That also was astonishing, and we just said yes and went. Right next door to them was that woman who became the famous radio announcer, and they'd asked her in because her child grew up actually became a special ed teacher, but with a few differences, but not like Franny. And they walked in, they went, Franny, how amazing. But I could see that this woman looked incredibly worried. She is a year younger than me. She looked 10 years older than me. So as the night went on, she said, how do you do it? How do you just play with Franny like that? Aren't you worried and concerned that you'll die and what will happen to her? And I said, well, I used to be until she was 7, and a woman in India told me to outlive her. In fact, said, you must promise me you'll outlive her. And that was Mehra. And I said this to Chris, and Chris said, what a fantasy. I said, is it? It isn't. I've just not said my age for so long, and I'm going to outlive her, and I'm certain about it. And you see, if I don't, who cares? We were perfectly happy the whole time. And she's been practicing this, and often sends me emails and says, thank you, I'm getting closer. Thank you. She stopped worrying about dying before the girl, leaving the girl on her own, who is now married with 2 kids, I might add, a special needs person with 2 children. And anyway, there was that certainty and that stopping the worrying with just a cue. But it took all that time. It took 30 years for me to link up to her again to give her that message from Mara.
Beautiful. Wow. Yeah, it's just, God, the love that's sewn into this crazy world, like golden threads, you know. It's so beautiful. Marta, I won't, you can pass and everything. We're talking about intuition, but, just about everybody has chimed in that we can see.
I know, it's really late. You guys are still on. Diane and Terry, we just zoomed from the Santa Barbara meeting over here.
Yeah.
But next week, Jeff, we changed the meetings so we can come to your thing on Tuesday. So now our Santa Barbara meeting's Wednesday. And Diane and Terry and me can come on Tuesdays here.
And this is all because for you, Jeff, so that
Well,
we
thank
don't miss
you.
late night.
I need all the help I can get. You know, this morning, you know, I wake up very early and I'm thinking, oh, Baba, what subject will, you know, that is pertains to people's lives and would be helpful, and about maybe 5 or something like that, he kind of gave me a little hint on what to do. But if anybody has any ideas, they're more than welcome to bring it up, just like I have.
Jeff, this meeting was highly intuitive.
Yes, it came from Baba because I was thinking of focusing on the movement from the heart to the heart of hearts, from the heart to the soul, and I thought, well, how can people relate to that? You know, I mean, that's not something that it's kind of, I mean, there are ways and everything, but and it would be an interesting subject, but I don't think it would last that long. Hey, but Rainey, I mentioned, did you get the email I sent you?
So I replied to the email. I sent you the link to the YouTube of the meeting on Sunday, which was delightful. So many people contributed, so many wonderful Brabazon readings and stories and so on. So that's up on YouTube now. I think it's in Worldwide Baba Family. But yes, whatever you need, I'd be happy to say a few words.
I mean, see, one thing I was thinking of is like either next Sunday or the following Tuesday.
I'm going in.
For Rainey to, I could even interview her, so to speak, about Francis Brabazon. And I mean, would be, I mean, because see, Francis, I mean, all the Mandali, but they have what can I say, a point blank range with, I mean, they are right next to Baba, and anything that they're describing, you know, firsthand, what it's like to be around Baba, and I find it immensely helpful in my own inner life.
Yes, the meeting went for 2.5 hours. So
Yeah.
many people showed up with things that had changed their lives when they ran into our poet Mandali, and we were reflecting also on the fact that this avatar, we know the poet Mandali, we know the essay and writer Mandali on hand, and that was his specific job, no other job. And so when you when you do like a little course with Ward for 9 weeks, you realize how brave us young ones were being around such an individual who knew so much. But it's wonderful to reflect on, as Barbara said, what he wrote through Francis. And people came up with such unusual things. It's a very nice. I'm really glad it's on YouTube.
Yeah.
And
well, like I say, if you can, like say, like next Sunday or the following Tuesday, what's best for you?
Either one. It turns out that 7, everyone's had their dinner and got their headphones on and doing their thing, and I'm free.
Okay. Well, how about next Sunday? And and then any of those people who contributed, if you want to contact them, I think Telly sings a beautiful song. I don't know if he did, but anybody that contribute, that'd be wonderful, because I missed it, and I mean, I don't know.
If you watch the video as well beforehand, it can give a lot of clues into. This was sort of on my part. I was the MC, but I did tie together the books, the situations, which I've memorized over these since '69. But
Rainey?
I was so thrilled. It was so nice.
Yeah.
Rainey, that song that Tully sang, that guzzle, what is it, #1 or something?
83.
Oh, what it was!
I Dwell in Dust and Sing.
Oh my God, it was just exquisite.
Well, we should have you.
Now his melodies written by. That's interesting. The two melodies that I know. One, I sort of borrowed the tune from Theodorakis. I dwell in dust and sing, and my song is most sweet. For all the while I prostrate, I do not entreat. His is this beautiful sort of French melody that Tully sings, that was written by David Hogan, who, of course, won.
I can sing a version of it.
Yes, and then Jeff has a version of it. I think there could be 100 versions of it, but the beauty of that guzzle is that's a good indication to Francis's nature, which Josh was talking about the other day, the school of not asking, because everything's in order anyway, really. And that guzzle's got it in each couplet. I do not entreat.
Yeah. I think about Francis Brabazon. If you ever see him bow before anybody, you can be sure that's God himself. That head will not go down, except before God.
And that head could not come up. When all the men were allowed to go before Mara and actually look at her, he couldn't make his head come up. He'd spent so many years not looking up, and it paused like he had to. He almost got up to her eyes. He said it was just so difficult.
And, there was a famous Pakistani poet, Goer, maybe you know, his name was Asmi.
I've heard the name, yes.
Anyway, he came to see Baba, but before he got to see Baba, he saw Bal Natu on the train on his way, and somehow he heard that I can't remember the exchange, but he heard that Bal Natu had actually met Baba, and he just was kissing him, and you have touched him, you've really been with him, and then when he got to Mehrabad, this is I think the 55 Sahavas, he kept his eyes down. He didn't look at Baba, and he didn't look at anybody. And Bal Natu came up to him at one point and said, well, you were so effusive before you came here, and now you're not even acknowledging me. And another person said to him, I noticed that you're not even looking at Baba. Why don't you look at Baba? He said, I'm still trying to find the eyes to look at him.
Beautiful.
Wow. What a, I mean, he was like sincere. And Baba said that he was going to be a perfect master coming up. But I'm still trying to find the eyes to look at him. Amazing thing to say. Hey, but going back to Marta, any intuitions? Or anything about intuition in your life, or decision making, how you deal with, I mean, because I mean, intuition is really another way of looking at is what do I do?
I have one little thing that just came to my brain since I hadn't really thought about it since I was at the other meeting, Jeff. But I do, and I think several people do this that I've heard through the years. But when I asked Baba about whether I should do something or not do it, or whatever that kind of question is, then I wait to get an answer. And then I wait to get a second answer. And then if I get a third answer and it's the same answer, then I know that that's the way to go.
Yeah.
So I know I've heard that from other people too in different ways, but that's definitely a foolproof one for me. And then the other thing that I like to use that that I really enjoy, I kind of laugh at myself with Baba, is, okay, so say that I don't know what to do about something. And I said, okay, Baba, I've had it. I can't think about this anymore. So this is what I'm going to do. And if you don't want me to do this, then make a change before this date that I'm going to do this. And that way, if it doesn't, then because, you know, Baba says, do your best and I will help you. So I figure I got to put something into it. So that's the second thing that I kind of do with Baba.
Yeah. Yeah, I think a lot of us do a version of that, you know.
Well, like I said, it's nothing new because I've been hanging out with you guys for, what, 700 years now?
Yeah.
I picked up all your tricks.
No, the beautiful thing, I'm going to call Jay in a second, but the beautiful thing that I think of is, you know, Baba said in 1954 that we would be held together by internal links. Not just our link with Baba, but with each other. So you're looking at your support system for the next 700 years. This is part of it. You know, we're all going to be helping each other in so many ways. And I think there's one lady that adopted a couple of Russian girls. You know, I mean, all the way to Russia, and one of them is a lifelong Baba lover. You know what I mean? In other words, if you wind up way off somewhere, someone is going to adopt you, and you'll be back into the Baba fold, so to speak. It's a lovely thing. But so Jay.
Hey Jeff, how are you?
Yeah.
Oh well, I don't know if you covered this, but it came to mind, I think in the discourses, how Baba says, the first thought that comes to your mind is usually the right one, and then you'll have contradictory ones come to you after that, and you have to do your best to either ignore them or fight them off.
Yeah. And let's see. I was trying to think of some. What we read a quote about that very thing. That advice that Baba had given to a couple. Yeah.
Oh, good. I wasn't sure.
But the thing is that what I've had to work on is, and what Erich really encouraged me when I was young, is to move the whole base of operations, meaning your consciousness, down to the heart level, and that it stay there, you know, and so that you're actually moving through life at the heart level, and the mind is no longer directing things. And it's hard to, and what I had to do is uncouple conscious awareness from the mind, and just follow the raw emotions down below at the heart level without bringing the mind into it. Once you bring the mind into it, then you're in time and space. So following the core emotions is that enables you to kind of stay at the heart level for longer and longer periods of time.
You wouldn't happen to have an example of that, would you?
I once followed anxiety in myself without thinking about it, but the feeling of anxiety for 4 months.
Ooh.
In and behind my work, I you know, I just followed it, and then you become friends with it, so that your mind is your mind can't come down, and you're following your emotions just with awareness itself and not the mind. Uncoupling the awareness from the thought process. I don't know if that makes any sense.
And then does it take you someplace?
It keeps you in the present. You know, and there's a wholeness and a completeness about it. I mean, you can follow anxiety. Now, if you want to get rid of anxiety, then you're thinking about the future. But if you just experience anxiety, or it's a form of fear, you're in the present. It's a whole. You don't even, after a while, you don't mind these emotions. They're not that bad. I mean, because it's the mind that makes them insufferable. It's the mind that makes them problematic. But feeling sadness can be a rich experience, you know, say, or, yeah, I mean, that's, that might be a different thing, but that's what Erich really impressed upon me when I was young. Stay at the heart level and don't go up to the head. Because you can think from the heart level. You don't have to go up into the head to think. You got intuitive thinking at the heart level. I mean, I don't know if this makes sense, but
you know, yeah. Jeff, I just thought of something when you were saying that.
Yeah.
Whenever Rainey talks about her daughter, there is pure love. I mean, I am just in awe of how you mother your child, Rainey. It is, every time she speaks of her, it's like this devotional adoration of that child and respect. I mean, it is so heart. And my mind's going, oh my God, it's so much work. Oh my God, how does she do it? Oh, all these years, you know, my mind's going through all that. But never have I ever picked up anything like that from Rainey, you know. So Rainey, to me, you are, you know, represent that heart. I mean, pure love for that child is just, it's inspiring to me, really.
It's practice.
Is it?
As I've said about love, it isn't a given. You have to practice love. And because I practice love, she practices love. And it's cyclical. And she actually isn't a lot of work like Anita's children or other children who are teenagers that loathe you and do the wrong thing. There's nothing like that. It's just day to day. It's has a tedium to it. But I worked out that patience, she taught me patience, and all it is knowing how to wait, nothing else. So when you've got a song in your head, or Baba, Baba, Baba in your head, or something in your head other than, oh, I need to be there and she's doing this now, and oh my God, she didn't make it to the toilet now. Whatever, you just know how to wait. You go somewhere else because it's not going to change. And the little girl didn't mean it. And So it becomes love. It becomes loving by itself. Love exists totally by itself, and you practice it.
Yeah.
And it's plus the fact that she's bloody funny. She's a tomboy, and she is the funniest person, with a slightly Jewish funny sense of humor from her dad, and tricky and a trickster. And we learn from her. We actually learn sequential behavior from her, that's for sure. Because just like Marion said, she's got to set the alarm. Fradieta's got a built in, no, it's afternoon tea time. So a built-in alarm clock. So the love is, at first, it was shock and horror and how can I ever do this? The love overcame everything, because the love became the important part. There was no how. Love just makes you do it. It's like when you're in love with somebody, you just can't wait. You can't wait to do it right, you know.
Beautiful. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. There was a famous book, Veiled Angels.
Right. That's by Happy Trails to You Until We Meet Again. That's by the woman that wrote Happy
Dale
Trails.
Evans? Huh?
It's by the woman that wrote Happy Trails.
Uh-huh. Oh, beautiful.
Roy Rogers' wife, is it one of the
Dale Evans.
Dale Evans wrote that book. Yes, they had a beautiful Downs boy.
Yeah.
Yes. When I was on a plane, and in the newspaper on the plane, it had Dale Evans dies. And so I carefully ripped it out of the newspaper, and I took it to India, and I put it on the Samadhi. And whoever was in charge of the Samadhi asked what it was, and to make an announcement when I told them what it was. And I announced that she had passed, and we all sang Happy Trails.
Yeah.
To her. We sang it to her at God's tomb.
Beautiful. Wow. Lovely. Hey, it's getting kind of late.
Yes.
I'm going to read, if I can find it. Yikes. This is by, someone wrote this. The person wanted to be anonymous, but it just came out. Just out of them, they on intuition. Intuition is an intimate communication with the divine that supersedes all worldly laws. It is beyond thought and brings with it an assurance that all is in order, all is perfectly right, even in the midst of seeming chaos and disorder. A pure intuition cannot be added to, reframed, or ignored, because it has the quality of pure truth, even though the rest of the world might refute it. Beautiful.
Beautiful.
You know, someone, I just told him, this person, I was gonna maybe bring up the subject of intuition, and they just, this kind of wrote right through them. Let me just see if there's anything. Yeah, let's see. Let me get the full screen. Oh, any, let's see. Mayor Prasad, you got any last moment quote?
I can reread the same quote from Life at its Best.
Yeah. Oh, just a second. You know, I before you read it, this is a, I don't know where I got this quote, but I was going through some papers and I found this quote of Rumi. Rumi says, "Never lose hope if the beloved pushes you away. Never lose hope if the beloved pushes you away. If he shuts the door on you, don't go. Be patient and wait. It is your patience that will draw him back. If he blocks all your roads, be sure he will show you a secret way unknown to others.
Beautiful.
Beautiful.
Mm.
Yeah, so so go ahead, Mayor Prasad.
All right. Learn the art of taking your stand on the truth within. When you live in this truth, the result is the fusion of the mind and the heart, and the end of all fears and sorrow. It is not a dry attainment of mere power or intellectual knowledge. A love which is illumined by the intuitive wisdom of the Spirit will bless your life with ever-renewing fulfillment and never-ending sweetness.
Ah.
Beautiful.
Hey, well, let's have a few
Thank
moments of silence here. And then next Sunday, we'll have Rainey sharing all that she can about Francis Brabazon and his intimate camera angle on Baba. Jai Baba. Thank you for all your contributions. This was great. Thank you, Marian and Goer, Rainey always, and Lanita from Brazil with her intuitive mother that just ran roughshod over all of us. Paula, yeah.
Thank you, Jeff. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff. It's
Well,
always
thank you.
Thank you
Yeah.
all.
Thank you,
Thank you.
everyone.
Thank you, Jeff. Thank you.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Jeff.
And don't ever hesitate to speak up. You know, this is, you know, it's only recorded for all time. I mean.
And
Yeah.
I know Baba is within and I'm never alone. And yet I knew it was important for me to connect with all of you and experience that human aspect of knowing that I'm not alone either. I'm with all of you.
Yeah.
In my heart. Yes.
Beautiful. No, well said. Yeah, we've got Baba with us, but then it expands.
Mm-hmm.
It expands. You know, I once asked Esfandiar. Esfandiar was, I mean, incredible soul. I mean, if there was anybody that I would say was up there on the dizzy heights of the spiritual thing, Esfandiar Vesali. But I asked him once, are you able to see Baba in others? Now, this is a guy that sees Baba within and experiences him on an abiding way. Are you able to see Baba in others? And they translated, he said something and Farsi translated it. And he said, I have not yet attained to that high state.
Wow. Attained
that.
I have not yet attained to that high state. But now Dan Ladinsky, who used to stay at Merazad, said that, you know, when we would come out on busloads as pilgrims and Erich would hug us and say, Jai Baba Rainey, Jai Baba Marian, Jai Baba Paula. But on Baba's birthday at 5 a.m, they would go over to Baba's bedroom, and some of the Westerners and different ones would be there that work And he would go around and he would embrace each one, and he'd stand back and say, "I love you, Baba." And he embraced the other one. "I love you, Baba." You know. So he was seeing everyone as Baba. Everyone is Baba in disguise. I mean, that is incredible. He did see Baba as everyone, even though he embraced us and said, "Jai Baba, Paula, Jai Baba, Lanita," but he was seeing something quite different. So that's a larger dimension to this whole thing. It's something. If you're drawn to it,
Did he do that to you, Jeff?
What's that?
Did he say, "Jai Baba, I love you, Baba," to you?
No, he said, "Jai Baba Jeff."
Oh, sorry. Next life.
Next, better life,
Better
like
life,
next birth.
life.
But really, I mean, it's. I mean, there is realizing Baba within us, but realizing him without us is just a larger experience of oneness. I mean, it's a larger one. There's the oneness within us, and then there's this huge one that Erich must have. I mean, he wouldn't say that if he didn't mean it.
Yeah.
You know, if he didn't experience it. That's why, Anyway. Great.
Okay, good night.
Good night.
Good night, everyone.
Good night,
Baba. Lots of love.
California.
Good night.
Sweetness.
Jai Baba.
Avatar Meher Baba.
Avatar Meher Baba ki jai. Avatar.
We gotta have Nasreen. You say that.
DJ Avatar Baba ki.
That's the best. I love that. Okay, folks.
Okay, bye.
Thank you for coming. Jai Baba.
Jai Baba.
Bye bye. Baba.